What are the physical generals or disturbance with your daily routine which affect you? What is the change of thirst, urine, stools, sleep? Based upon that also medicine can be decided. And you see that there is something else also we need, which is the concomitant, which is an additional symptom or additional, you know, type of pain or any other complaint which is happening in another part of your body. And based upon that, the remedies are classified into various uh, locations which we see that act. So, like an ocean of lot of remedies, we have some books which will give us the rubrics, especially if we see smaller books and original books like, for example, Borik's repertory. It gives us location of head pain and supraorbital left or right. And then there is also one of the very widely used repertory, which is Kent's repertory. And you can see that there is a rubric which is in the nose section which says coryza extending to the frontal sinuses, which has six remedies: arsenic, calcarea phos, Cimex, kali iode, silica, and sticta. So these are the major remedies that we see from the major books by our stalwarts. But each remedy has its own way of action, and I will describe that in very brief session of 10 minutes. For example, we see the remedy belladonna. So belladonna is a remedy which will mostly be useful in inflammatory complaints or first stage of any disease or first stage of sinus pain. And you see that there is acute and intense pain which suddenly comes and suddenly goes. And when we read the relevant literature in Materia Medica, we see there is pain, fullness, especially in the forehead, also occiput and temples, headache from suppressed catarrhal flow. So we can think of belladonna in 200 or 1000 potency for frequent repetition. Then we have the remedy bryonia, which is also kind of indicative of first stage of sinus pain. But it has a very strong dryness of materia medica on mucous membranes in every part of the body. And there is a very strong modality which is worse on motion. Even the motion of the eyeball is difficult. That is the sensitivity. Next remedy, which is Kali bichromicum, and it is involved in various stages of sinus pain. And there are thick discharges, almost lumpy or uh, greenish whitish discharge. And one of the interesting things is that there is aching and fullness in glabella, one of the regions between two eyes. So if we see the mention of this particular line, we should know that it is a remedy which acts on small spots. Anywhere there is pain in the body or in the head or any part of the body, it is in small spots which will be Calibichromicum or even Ignatia. And one of the other remedies is Spigelia, which has a very strong action on the fifth nerve, fifth cranial nerve rather, and the complaints are regulated by bending forward. Another remedy is colocynth, and one very strange case that I remember is that there was sudden pain in this patient, but since the side affected was left side, I didn't think of belladonna, but I thought of colocynth. There was strong amelioration by strong pressure. And if we see a interesting rubric in the NAIR repertory, which is forehead aching worse bending forward, the remedy is colocynth. And then there is another remedy which will kind of work on various areas of our body, like the head, the throat, and that is laccan. Then there is another remedy which is sanguinaria, which works very well on the sinus pains or sinusitis. And there will be nose block alternating with stoppage of nose with the cough. One of my cases also had this symptom with pain in the eyes aggravated by leash touch. And if I made a search in the program Synergy Homeopathic Software, I got sanguinaria as one of the top remedies for alternate and fluent coryza where eyes were painful to touch. So similar extension of sinus pain we see in a complaint known as prosopalgia, which is a face pain. And the top remedies that we see are rhododendron and causticum. So if along with the sinus pain, if there is pain in the throat and feverishness, which comes us to the remedy laccan. And it should not only be homeopathic medicine which should help, but there should be some additional integration of alternative therapies, which is yoga or correct breathing, which will help such patients. So that's the end of my session, and I have a very interesting workshop which is coming up, which is something about how do you handle different fever cases in your clinics. And you can see that there will be various range of learnings that will be covered. It is case taking in fevers, case taking pro forma will be provided, patient expression in fevers. How do you convert it to rubrics? the different materia medica of remedies, key rubrics from repertories, and it will be with before after videos. So the workshop starts from 15th August, and if you wish to join, you can drop a message on this number, or you can drop an email also to me, dr.alpeshoza@gmail.com. And there are many other workshops which I have undertaken in the last few months on case taking, how to take different rubrics from different repertories, how to differentiate kingdom in different patients, and the upcoming workshop on fever. So you can contact this number by WhatsApp or email to me so we can help you with the details. So that brings us to the end of my session.
Аз исках да попитам, понеже вчера не съм присъствал, дали по някакъв начин двата дни са свързани, съдържанието на лекциите. Да, това щях да ви помоля, това ще бъде много полезно. Благодаря.
Hello, Genoveva, can you hear me? I can't hear any of y'all. Is it okay if I can't hear y'all? Hello, Dimitrina. So I will begin the presentation. You can give me a hand sign if I have to begin. Okay. I hope you can see my slides. Can you see my slides? Okay. So we are going to speak about innovative approach in management of infertility. It is slightly a lengthy one, so maybe if I am fast, you can watch the recordings later. Infertility is a disorder of male and female reproductive system defined by the failure to achieve pregnancy after 12 or more months of unprotected relations. This is the world statistics. Around 8 to 10% of the couples worldwide are infertile, and 60 to 80 million couples suffer from infertility. These are the primary causes. We will not go into the details because we are going to work on the approach. So these are the causes of infertility. It can be the commonest is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And today I'm going to speak about how to manage infertility associated with polycystic ovarian syndrome. Just this much. So what are the causes apart from the pathological ones? Smoking, excessive use of alcohol, weight gain or weight loss, physical and emotional stress. So these can be other psychosomatic, even lifestyle related causes for infertility. There are two types of infertility. A woman who has never got pregnant since marriage or since not even for the first time after not using birth control pills for 1 year. This is primary infertility. Secondary infertility is where woman has got pregnant for the first time and for the second time there is no successful pregnancy. Now, approach in case taking. Since I'm going to talk to you about a different approach, the normal approach is something that I have considered that we know. So I'm just going to highlight it. So the basic case taking will always remain the same. This is something that we all should know. To ascertain the cause of infertility by investigations, we should understand the endocrine hormonal cycle. You should come to the proper constitutional remedy and a miasmatic background on the basis of Dr. Hahnemann's classification of miasms. This is something basics which all homeopathic practitioners who want to treat infertility should know. Okay. Then this is something that you should always take the past history of any urinary tract infections, tuberculosis, pelvic disorders, contraceptive pills, any associated conditions like PCOS, thyroid, obesity, and lifestyle, because all these things are ones which are affecting the conception. So we all have to understand this and see what we can do if they are blocking the process of cure. And we all have remedies for this. So I'm going to talk to you about this special approach with a case. This is a case which I'm going to speak to you about primary infertility. A 27-year-old female with polycystic ovarian syndrome came to us with infertility for 4 years, wanting to conceive for 4 years. She had irregularity of menses since menarche. Since menarche, she had dysmenorrhea, and after 4 years of proper method, she was not conceiving. Her menses were irregular and she experienced menorrhagia with large clots, and her present cycles were delayed and scanty. Many a times she had to take injectables, painkillers for her dysmenorrhea, and she had dark clotted blood flow for 3 days. The other symptoms that she had was dryness of skin and hair fall. The past history was conjunctivitis and febrile convulsions. Her sister also had PCOD and had problems in conception, infertility. Her father was diabetic. These are something about her physical generals. She couldn't tolerate meat. She couldn't tolerate spices. Fasting was aggravating her headache, would cause irritations, and she had perspiration on the upper lips and the chin. Her mental state, she was emotionally a very mild woman, extremely sensitive to reactions of people around her. After she got married, things changed drastically for her due to her dominant mother in law. She was very sensitive to reprimands and wept on slightest arguments. She couldn't express her emotions verbally and would get hurt easily and would cry easily. The case is a big lengthy one. I have just taken small excerpts to make you understand how we came to the remedy. On being asked about her reaction in anger, she says if she gets angry, her whole body trembles. It pricks as if pins are pricking in her body. So we asked many other life stressful situations, and she expressed it by ranunculus sensation, the sensation of the ranunculus family. And this is the sensation of the ranunculus family. For all those people who do not follow sensation method, these are the sensation of ranunculus family. Tremors from emotions, sensitive, brooding, vexed, morbidly sensitive, anger with grief, and stitching, stinging, burning, stabbing pains. Okay. Geneva, is it good? The pace is good or okay? So combining, this is what I do. I do not use the miasmatic approach of the sensation method. I combine the sensation of ranunculus or the family with the physical generals or the peculiars. So when I combine those physical pointers with the ranunculus sensation using the above pointers to the rubrics: menstruation irregular, menses offensive, fasting aggravates, meat aggravates, dreams of water, trembling, excitement, emotional during, and mood, tearful weeping. The remedy that came was pulsatile. So it is very simple remedy. Okay, but this is not what I do now. The whole story begins from here. Though the remedy was pulsatilla, we don't give it this way because we now have to understand if there is any other pathological remedy that may help in treating the ovarian syndrome. So this was the individual remedy. We had decided a dose. Okay. But when we did the investigations, what we found that there is a polycystic ovarian disease and her testosterone levels were 58.65, which is much higher. That means there is a chance that she may not conceive. With a high testosterone, it is very difficult to conceive, and this is what happens in polycystic ovarian syndrome. So to get her to conceive, we have to reduce the testosterone levels. This was her anti-Mullerian hormone level 9.39. So now is the thing which is most important that I am going to share with you is a new approach to PCOS. So I treat the PCOS and infertility by seeing this as a specialized pathological approach. Why was this approach needed? After microscopically studying different clinical materia medicas, I inferred that there are many remedies for clinical conditions associated with ovarian cyst. There are many remedies, but they are not in any repertory. They are small remedies written in some corner in some clinical materia medicas like boric. Now, this approach, which I am going to show you now, will help you to find those remedies which do not come on repertorization. And that is the main USP of this approach. Apart from it, you can see before prescribing what is the constitutional remedy. You also know what is the miasmatic remedy. You also know the remedy according to the blocks which the patient will have. Suppose if the patient has taken a lot of hormonal medicines, then you can give aristolochia or estrogen. Okay. Then the most important thing which I'm going to share today is how to use a sarcode, a hormonal similimum on clinical basis. Okay. Then I'm going to speak to you about a PCOS questionnaire, a direct questionnaire to a patient of PCOS to ascertain the associated conditions which are impeding the process of fertility. This is something which has been done after many years of research. Okay. And we have a special PCOS repertory and a materia medica. This also helps us to find a pathological similimum apart from the constitutional similimum, and it also helps to find the corresponding SAR code. Now, the questionnaire which is given below is a very small excerpt. I'm not sharing the whole questionnaire because it's a big, lengthy one. So I'm just showing you how it will be. It is very simple. The left side, I have given all the conditions that are associated with the ovarian cyst. And on the right side, it's an empty column where you have to mark if the condition is present in the patient or not by asking the patient or by seeing the investigations. This is so simple. You do not have to ask any question which is not there in the questionnaire. And this is to be done only after your whole case taking process is over. This process is only to find out the smaller remedies which are not there in the materia medica, in the repertory. Then the positive findings, whatever you get from the questionnaire, you have to repertorize using a special PCOS repertory, which I'm going to share with you. And whatever remedies that you get, you have to see how it is matching with the constitutional remedy. And once your pathological remedy and the constitutional remedy matches, your chances of curing the patient becomes high. It is so very evidence based. Okay. This is something new for all those who have not heard before, but focus, you will understand how we do it. Now, if the remedy after repertorization using the PCOS repertory is same as the constitutional remedy, then you give in the same potency as a constitutional remedy. But if the pathological remedy is not same, then you need to give in a lower potency like 60 or 30 because it is a pathological simillimum. This is very important. If it has a constitutional remedy, give as a constitutional remedy. If it is a pathological remedy, give in a lower potency. Now the questionnaire which is made was derived by studying different associated conditions and hormonal correlations with the ovarian cyst from different clinical materia medicas. This is something which I have done for last 8 to 10 years, how to put this thing together. This is a very important part of the research and the things that are practiced now, how to understand two associated conditions along with the, it is like concomitant systems with the pathology. This is my source of literature: Dr. Allen, Dr. Fatak, Dr. Borick, Dr. Clark, Dr. Farrington, Chaudhary, Kent, Julian, and textbooks of endocrinology. I'm just giving you the sample of how the questionnaire is. On the left hand side, anything that is associated with the ovarian cyst, if there is an emotional trauma, if there is a hormonal problem, it is associated with many abortions, it is associated with any OC pills, you have to just tick mark here on the right hand side. If it is a PCOS in a young girl, you have to tick mark here. If it is for infertility, it is to be tick marked here, because in both cases the goals of treatment will be different. So this is in general associated conditions. This is example, like suppose ovarian cyst associated with cold and cough and amenorrhea, the remedy is senescio. This is how we don't consider. Or menstrual flow offensive, you have belladonna, creosote, and medorinum with ovarian cyst. These are pathological similar remedies. Now, how to use the repertory? Very simple. You have to use a search word ovarian cyst and put on the condition which is there in the patient, which you find from the questionnaire. It is very, very simple. Nothing else. Just put ovarian cyst and you will get the associated condition. So after scanning through this questionnaire in the patient, these are the few rubrics that we got. Okay. The menses are scanty, offensive, then the high testosterone. Okay. This is now the repertory, which will be soon available with the software. Ovarian cyst and associated conditions verified from the books. So back to the case. These were the conditions that were associated with the ovarian cyst. Menses dark, menses clotted, scanty, and suppressed. So when I repertorized, the remedy again came to be pulsatilla. So that means we are now very sure that the pathological remedy and the constitutional remedy is same. So the chances of working is very high. Don't you want that all these things should match properly and scientifically? So this is what is happening now. So after doing the repertorization, we find the remedy is same. So she was given pulsatilla 200 2 doses, and later after 1 week 1 m 2 doses. The newer concept in follow-up, this is very important. Please try and do this. This will help you in your practice. What is to see in follow-ups? Because everybody talks about giving the first remedy. Hardly anybody speaks about what to do in the follow-ups. See for the symptoms of constitution, generalities, symptoms of the predominant hormonal state, because that hormonal state can cause an obstruction to fertility. And you find concomitants, and you see premenstrual, postmenstrual, and menstrual symptoms. This is what you need to see in follow-up every time. You can take a picture, but remember that every follow-up should be associated with this. If you see a hormonal symptom predominating, then you have to prescribe a SAR code. If you see a constitutional symptom, then give the constitutional remedy. We were not doing like this. We were prescribing only constitutional remedies, and hence there were many failures in pathological conditions. After 1 month, menses appeared. There was a prolonged flow, tenderness of breast, nausea, diarrhea during menses, and now we scanned her through a hormonal chart. Just focus on the new hormonal chart of SAR codes which I use. The symptoms given below progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone are the symptoms of that particular hormones. Listen to me carefully. This is very important. It will help you a lot. You have to ask the patient each and every symptom. If the symptoms on the left hand side column predominate, that means the patient is in progesterone state. If the symptoms in estrogen predominate, that means the patient is in estrogenic state. And similarly, if it is testosterone symptoms, it is testosteronic state. Like rapidly changing moods, anxiety, impulsiveness is not a constitutional reaction of the patient, it is a testosteronic state. This is from the books of endocrinology. So in this patient, the ones in the red were predominant. So we decided to give the patient estrogen 30 daily night for 2 weeks. After 2 months, she started developing emotional weeping tendencies, better in open air, craving for spices and meat, fasting aggravated. So she required her constitutional remedy. So here the constitutional state predominates. So give 2 doses of pulsatilla. After 2 months, scan through the hormonal chart again, and we find the estrogenic state again. So she was started on estrogen 30 for next 2 weeks. Then she developed a strong mental state due to a situation in the family, for which we gave her pulse 50 m 2 doses, which improved her drastically. Okay, so whichever state comes up, that is what you need to prescribe. After 3 months, she came up with again different symptoms: scanty menses, bloating of abdomen, craving for sweets. So again, she was scanned to the hormonal chart, and the remedy that came was progesterone. So she was given progesterone 30 daily night for 15 days. Then after 2 months, everything improved. Menses are normal. She is stable. Testosterone, which was 58, now becomes 32. That is what I called as evidence-based medicine. There has to be the change in the reports. The patient did not receive a single allopathic medicine when we were treating. It was only pure homeopathy. So once the testosteronic state went off, all hormones are normal, menses are regular, emotionally stable. You see immature follicles now. So I asked her to get the follicular study done. Everything goes scientifically. This is the follicular study that we did. Okay. And what it revealed that patient had immature follicles and there was a delay in rupture. So we started her on folliculinum. She was having follicles, but they were not maturing properly. This is the indication of folliculinum. You can just click the picture of it. This is how you can differentiate oophorinum from folliculinum. Again, you can just take the picture of this. She was continued on folliculinum 30 intermittently for 2 months. And what was the result? After 3 months is that she conceived without any allopathic intervention. This is what I learned from these cases. This is now very, very commonly used in our practice. In female endocrinological conditions, we need a systematic approach to get a breakthrough. Just random prescribing by seeing symptoms won't help. The hormonal overlap which we miss by taking only symptoms causes masking and mixing of constitutional symptoms with that of hormonal symptoms. This is a big lacuna that is happening in homeopathic case taking. You do not differentiate the hormonal symptoms from the constitutional symptoms. Then a new method now is to decipher the hormonal overlap at every stage. Every stage, every time you need to decipher this. It is very effective and evidence based. You can see it happening in your patients and you can see the hormonal levels changing. There is a new way of application of SAR code which is completely scientific, not based on anybody's provings or theories. It is what is given in the books of endocrinology. The use of PCOS repertory, where the smaller remedies from the materia medica which do not exist in the repertory now can be prescribed very easily. And the most important is the modified approach in follow-ups. This will help you to get evidence-based results. That's what I wanted to convey to you. I thank Genoveva, Dr. Dimitrin, and all the organizers for giving this opportunity. If you have any questions, you can write to me on these numbers. And it is really a pleasure talking to you all. Hope you have some insight on this. I would be happy to share whatever I know in this. Thank you, Genoveva. Thank you, everybody. Bye from me.
Аз имам въпроса, но той изчезна. Защото тази лекция я слушам за втори път и картина на преобладаващи хормони не е ясно какво е това. Дали е при повишено ниво на тези хормони или защото се объркат. Повишено ниво на тестостерон, повишено на естроген. Добре, така може. Защото преобладаваща картина на хормона, тя може да е и... Ами ако може да го питаш... И втори въпрос е след неговото лечение на ехография изчезва ли поликистоза? То, че цикъла се появява, поликистозата изчезва ли? Добре.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Genoveva. Thank you, all the organizers, for this conference. Really appreciate the invitation. It's 6 a.m. New York time, so if I'm a little vague, please pardon me. But I'm happy to be here, and I am happy to be talking about one of my favorite topics in homeopathy, which is the use of butterflies as really important remedies for treating many of the conditions of our modern world. Patricia LaRue obviously did a lot of great groundbreaking work on butterflies, and other homeopaths have continued that work, and I have made it kind of my personal project to investigate the use of butterflies. And I've made a number of butterfly remedies. I've been researching them. I've been trying to understand the difference in the butterfly families and how they can be used. But the thing with butterflies, as I think we know, is that we think of butterflies as being really important remedies that reflect various polarities of that especially about neglect of children versus caring of children, and the butterfly remedies described, they don't necessarily have to be limited to children, but they have a lot to do with children being endangered, and they have been very, very effective in treating children and adults who have experienced particular kind of losses. I've used butterfly remedies repeatedly for parents who have lost children in a dramatic or untimely way, and they're suffering from tremendous grief. The monarch butterfly, for example, is a really powerful remedy for people who have lost children. I have also used a remedy that I actually did a proving of, called the silver-spotted skipper. It's Epargirius clarus. Helios carries that remedy, and I used it very effectively for a young man, about a 16-year-old. I mean, he was 16 when I started treating him, and he'd lost his father to illness when he was very young, and the boy had become kind of the poster child for a kind of psychological support group for children who had lost parents to death, right? And so he had a lot of the silver-spotted skipper characteristics, very Silver series, very public, very much in the public eye, presenting to groups, being in front of the cameras. But he had severe ADHD, which is a condition that butterflies, of course, can be very helpful in treating. Think about butterflies, think about the way they move, the way they flit around, and that kind of constant movement is very characteristic of some of the symptoms that are very well treated by butterflies. So, I have a longtime love of insects. Ever since I was a little kid, I collected insects. I was obsessed with insects, and what I have found as a homeopath in my own practice is that I don't necessarily prescribe very many insect remedies except for butterflies. Butterflies speak to they have an interesting quality, I think, because they are so much about transformation and transition, sort of culturally, and they have so many deep cultural meanings, from freedom to transformation and change, and that they actually embody a relationship to the world and to conditions on our planet in a way that I find very powerful. In many of the provings of remedies, of butterfly remedies, we see that war comes up, we see that bombing comes up, we see the themes of refugees show up over and over and over again. And, you know, I led a meditation proving of the monarch butterfly a few years ago with students from the Baylight School of Homeopathy in Maine. And in that proving, I mean, during the backdrop for that proving was that Donald Trump had children, immigrants in cages at the US border in Texas, right? So that crisis of children, the crisis of families being torn apart, parents and children being separated, those themes show up a great deal in butterflies. So if I can share my screen, I want to show some slides about how I'm thinking about butterflies. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. Wait, there we go. Here we go. So yeah, we again, you know, the breadth of what butterflies can treat, I think is very, very broad. But if you run into a situation with a patient where a child has been neglected or a parent is neglectful and kind of spacey and not really paying attention to what's going on with their kid, that could be kind of a keynote for a butterfly remedy. We see anxiety states, we see, you know, trauma experiences, and some butterfly prescriptions, of course, there can be severe trauma that somebody has experienced. I would look at butterflies for anyone that is having difficulty making a transition in their life, if they're stuck at a certain stage, if they're stuck in a certain way of being, and it's difficult for them to move on. And sometimes a butterfly remedy will break the case in the sense that it'll lead me to the deeper prescription, which is usually a plant. So butterfly remedies don't always stick. You know, they can be transitional themselves. So we have three main groups of butterfly families that we know about. The biggest group of butterflies is the Nymphalidae butterfly group, and it means brush-footed butterflies. And you see many of our common big, beautiful butterflies in this family, right? We see the monarch butterfly, we see the fritillaries, we see the pearl crescents, we see a lot of very common butterflies that are beautifully patterned. They when they open their wings, you see, you know, all kinds of gorgeous colors, etc. In my experience, and we have a number of butterflies in this family, this Nymphalidae family is where you see intensely expressed emotional states. You see PTSD from sexual abuse, from emotional abuse, from war, from mistreatment. In this family, you see deep grief over the loss of a parent or the loss of a child, intense codependence, a lot of anxiety expressed, and a desire to belong, feeling abused, feeling pushed out, and a real need to belong. So again, this would be the Nymphalidae butterfly group. And in that group, we have the monarch, we have the red admiral butterfly, we have the fritillary butterfly, which I'll talk about in a minute, because that's actually a new proving. I'm kind of excited to talk about it. Then we have a very large group of butterflies that are called skippers, and they're small and they dart around and they're really hard to see. And part of what happens with butterflies is that the better they taste to birds, the more artful they have to be in how they fly. You know, they have to be able to escape their predators, whereas some of those big, beautiful butterflies that we see flying around, they taste bad to birds, so they can afford to have a more languid, slow, careful flying, you know. So the skippers, we don't have many butterflies in this group. There's one, as I've mentioned, called the silver spotted skipper. There's another that we did and I did an actual proving of that one. There's one that we did a meditation proving of called the fiery skipper. We have a little bit of data on that one. And there's a third one that is called the sooty, the dark sooty wing. And that the common sooty wing, excuse me, and the common sooty wing is in the skipper family. It's a small dark gray butterfly that has a lot to do with death, actually. But the themes that we might see in the skipper family, more emotional disconnect, more kind of being shut down. We see at the same time sort of peacefulness and tranquility, a lot of concern with freedom, with liberation of the self, release into a different state, a lot of physical activity, a lot of movement. I would use this. I have used this, as I've said, effectively with kind of ADHD conditions. We see that the movement in this remedy moves up. People are up in the air. They're up in energy going out of the head. There's a lot of interest in the occult and spirituality and energy healing, a lot of interest in homeopathy and astrology and all kinds of alternative modalities. There's a lot of pressure, being under high expectations, high stakes situations, demanding performance. That really showed up in the fiery skipper proving, where, you know, people were in a dangerous situation and had to really get it right. We see kind of helicopter parents, you know, parents who are over involved, over controlling with their children, or parents who are completely disengaged. Death as transcendence, peaceful death, immortality. This is a remedy that I would put into our toolbox when people are dying and having a lot of distress with dying. You know, the classic remedy that we think of for that is arsenicum album. I would add the common sooty wing to that list. I think it would be a great remedy for that. And we also see issues of violent death, war, bombing, that shows up again in the skipper remedies. The third group of butterflies that I want to talk about are the swallowtails. And we have a few of these as remedies. There's the graphium, the triangle butterfly, the green triangle. We've got the, oh my God, I just had a 6 a.m. blank. It's a graphium, Coridon, Sarpedon. That's it. And these are big, gorgeous butterflies they're huge, and they have a lot of gorgeous patterning, black usually, or bright colors. The tiger swallowtail, or it's the eastern swallowtail as it's called, yellow and black coloring, very beautiful. This is a very interesting group of remedies. The themes have much more to do with responsibility, leadership, and power, carrying responsibility. The world is heavy on your shoulders, meaningful actions, being a savior. In fact, I had this idea that I wanted to prove the eastern swallowtail because it's a big, beautiful remedy butterfly that is very, very common in the United States, in the Northeast. And I like proving things that are ubiquitous, things that we see every day. You know, it doesn't have to be an unusual. I don't think we need the exotic butterflies, but the common ones are really important. So I had this idea that I really wanted to prove this eastern swallowtail. And a group of us did a meditation proving online, actually, after one of Luke Klein's seminars. And a lot of important themes came up about all this, about responsibility, about captain saving the ship. I have to save my people. And I had a longstanding patient who had suffered with gout for years. And he is a very powerful lawyer, a very activist lawyer. He does a lot of big environmental cases. He's he plays a big role in his law firm. He's a really well-respected man. He has a very kingly kind of feeling. And right after this proving, I had a follow-up with him, and he literally said some of the words that had come up in the proving. He said, you know, I have to save my people. I cannot abandon my people. And I thought, oh my God, it's this remedy, because this man was completely stuck in his life. He was a lawyer, he'd been a lawyer, he had all this responsibility, but he's an artist, and he wants to leave the law, and he wants to be an artist. And he would continually develop these plans that he would leave the work as a lawyer, and he would transition out, and he would be able to spend half his time being an artist, and then he would be full-time artist, and he would never ever do it. Like, there would be plan after plan after plan. I'm going to leave my job, and he would never do it. So anyway, this remedy, and nothing was effectively treating his gout. And I was very clear that the gout wasn't going to go away until he made a decision and stuck to it about leaving his legal job and becoming an artist. I gave him the remedy. He has been on this remedy now for 3 years, and he has not had a gout attack. And he has officially given word that he is stepping down from his firm, and it is happening within the next several months. So, you know, he's still in transition about that, but I think it's helping. Anyway, with the swallowtails, we have this carrying of responsibility, this great sense of responsibility and leadership, but we also have an indifference to responsibility, like, oh, today's a new day, who cares? I can do whatever I want. There's a feeling of listening to a higher power, having the Pope or spiritual leaders communicate and tell you, you know, oh, you have to take this role on. Guided by angels, guided by magic, you know, having divine power can be a theme in this remedy. There can be a real self-indulgent quality to this group, the swallowtails, a self-focus, a very obsessive self-focus, and also a desire to sacrifice oneself for the greater good. So again, we see these polarities. We see manipulation of other people and a disintegration of morality, even to the level of child sexual abuse, porn, incest, even murder. I mean, when we did a trituration proving, a lot of these very heavy themes showed up, and I see it reflected in, there was in the proving of the Eastern swallowtail, there were themes of nuclear fission that came up again and again and again, even to the degree we were sitting outside on a porch fronting the street. People were walking down the street in pairs. They were doing some kind of weird exercise. This was so random. And they had their arms linked. They were back to back, and they were walking up and down the street. And they actually looked like a butterfly, you know, if you think about it. And there was this energy of this aspect of a nuclear split, the splitting of atoms. It was very weird. So this idea of the disintegration of morality can show up in the swallowtail remedies. People who kind of lose their moral compass and start making really destructive decisions. I would think about these remedies. Guilt, I think in the case of children who have survived some of these terrible manipulations and abuses, we see a lot of guilt, a lot of I've done something wrong, PTSD, dissociative states, I'm the problem, not the abuser, a kind of Stockholm syndrome thing. Again, the nuclear idea, magic, responsibility for the universe, guided by angels, split consciousness, egotistical but insecure is very characteristic of the swallowtail. So I think I only have a couple of more minutes. Genoveva, please give me a sign when I need to wrap up. Okay, 5. All right. So I want to talk for the last 5 minutes because I'm very excited about this. There's a group of butterflies in North America called fritillaries, and they're also in the family Nymphalidae. They're beautiful. They're beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. And last year, I want to give a shout out to Michelle McKenzie, a homeopath in Canada, in Calgary, who made a remedy using her machine and slept with the 30C under her pillow of the Atlantis fritillary. And she had a very powerful dream, which really reflects the energy of the fritillaries. And I'll talk about that in a sec. A group of us homeopaths did a little proving of it online. And that gave us some information. And then last week, I was in Albany, Georgia, the state in the United States. And we did a trituration proving of a close cousin, the variegated fritillary, which is a very common butterfly in North and South America. Again, it's in the same family as, it's a very close cousin to the Atlantis fritillary that Michelle McKenzie had proven. So from the meditation proving, we see peace, beauty, free, heaven and earth, belonging, protection, shelter, refuge, connection, caring, unity, inclusion, excitement, like that. That's, there's this big kind of global, peaceful feeling that came forth in the Atlantis fritillary. Utopia, bringing inspiration, being on a group mission, but also secrets, suspicion, stealth, pretense, delusion. Things seem harmless, but they're not. Seems safe, but isn't. Hiding, camouflage, cover, being watched, hiding behind, remaining so I won't be seen, being on the outside looking in, anxiety, stress, sorrow, too exhausted to move, refugees seeking shelter, children aging too fast due to trauma, war, shooting, cruelty, absence of the father, comparing with others, thoughts of others. We got a lot from that meditation proving. So then there was also these physicals: thirst, choking, shoulder, abdominal pain, pelvic tingling, shocking coldness, pain in the sacrum, heart racing, anxiety in the heart, etc. Then last week, we did this trituration proving of the variegated fritillary. Again, the fritillaries are all very, very close biologically. Now, we've always talked about butterflies. I remember in conversations with Lou Klein, we always talked about Peter Pan, right? With as the kind of energy, I don't want to grow up. I'll never grow up. That kind of childlike, naive, I want to stay a child. This fritillary is the Peter Pan remedy. And in fact, the dream that Michelle had when she slept on the 30C was about encountering a group of boys and young men ages 5 to 25, and they had a little perfect society. It was a little utopia, and every little boy had his own little job and his own little skill, and it was like this perfect little group, little society of little boys living on their own. And Michelle in the dream asked them, what do you do when there's conflict? And they said, oh, we don't have conflict. There's no conflict here. She said, yeah, but what if conflict happens? And they said, well, we throw them out. They'll have to leave. And then in the dream, it emerged that she had shrunk in size and that all these little boys were living like fairies, kind of at the level of moss. And you see a lot of similarities to moss, I think. And if you look at Jan Scholten's work on mosses, you see a lot of similarities. So in the trituration proving, this energy was really there. It was, why can't life be simple? Why can't we just go back to a different time where everything was okay? And a complete romantic view of what former times were like, right? Like no acknowledgement of how hard they were. A feeling that the Industrial Revolution had been a bad thing. Can't we just go back and live off the land, being in harmony with animals and with plants, no responsibility, no work. Do we really have to work? I don't want to have to be responsible. I don't want to have to pay any bills. Like that was the theme. There was also a theme of protection, like the other fritillary, taking care of the community, providing homeopathy and healthcare to people who don't have healthcare, providing shelter, providing food, peace and conflict resolution, caring for the earth, utopia. So now we know that the fritillaries have to do with a fantasy about utopia. The other themes that showed up, we were very distracted, couldn't hold on to thoughts, couldn't find words, couldn't focus, couldn't keep track of time. So this is a strong ADHD kind of remedy, a very excitable energy. And then the energy crashed, exhausted, couldn't hold our head up, which was very like the other fritillary. A lot of issues with food, forgot to eat, couldn't eat, not eating, hungry despite having eaten, blood sugar issues, then a lot of concern about the quality of food, food safety, contamination, pesticides, the other physical randomly TMJ on the left side. So that's the fritillary. And Michelle has the Atlantis fritillary. I'm going to send this one to I&E Organics in the United States to have them run it up into a remedy. I would say that just so that you know, the swallowtail, the eastern swallowtail that I talked about for the man with gout, that remedy is also at I&E Organics. The common sooty wing, the easy death remedy, is at I&E Organics. Helios has the silver spotted skipper, Epargirius clarus, Hanneman in California, and also I&E Organics in Washington also have Monarch. So I'm always interested in hearing from people, from homeopaths who use any of these remedies. Also, Helios has Red Admiral Butterfly, Vilnessa Atalanta. So I'm interested in hearing any stories, any reports of cases that you might have for butterflies. I'm, of course, passionate about them. These are really, really helpful remedies for trauma, for anxiety, for ADHD, for various, intense, people who've gone through intense abuse, and people who've experienced death of family members, death of children. So they're beautiful, powerful remedies. We need more of them. So I hope I've inspired you to pursue this and to use these remedies. Thank you. It's great to be here. Oops.
Геновева, малко микрофона се оправи. Защото гъри. Да, чуваме те. Чува се превода, въпросът е, че микрофона като се местиш напред-назад и почва да гъгне. Иначе, добре, ако си нагласиш микрофона, всичко е наред.
Okay, start. So, hello and namaste. I'm Dr. Shelly from India, and I'm very glad to be here today. And thank you, Genoveva, to have me here again after 5 to 6 years. And we spoke, yeah, correct, during lockdown. So, 2 months back, I and Genoveva were just talking, and she spoke about stress. How about going with stress and homeopathy? And it just clicked me because since we had our last webinar, I remember we had COVID, and I've been seeing a lot of anxiety and depression cases, lot of anxiety and depression cases, and also in this 3 years, I got to learn under Dr. Mahesh Gandhi sir. He is well-known homeopath and psychiatrist. So that learning, as well as understanding stress and seeing so many depression and anxiety, panic attack cases in this 4 months, 4 years, has really refined my knowledge about homeopathy. It has refined my understanding, deeper understanding about homeopathy. I remember 3 years back, I was struggling a lot. Like, how do I go more deeper in a case? How do I go into the subconscious level of a case? I was helping my patients with anxiety and panic attack, but I was not able to break the tendencies and process behind the disease. Then understanding deeper, seeing so many cases, I got a click. And here, this is what I'm going to share one of those cases where the patient was really in a very bad anxiety and panic attack. To an extent, he had closed himself up in his room for 2 months. He was not ready to come out of his room. He had a newborn child, and he was just telling people are coming to take me away, I'm going to die. He used to have panic attacks 10 to 20 times in one day. Just imagine this case, and the remedy is very interesting, and it will be something very different for you to understand. Let's go ahead with the case. So Yes. So this is a case which I'll be talking about and sharing about evolution of mind, how anxiety evolves, and what is a holistic approach to treat anxiety, panic attacks, especially when it is intermingled with a pathology. Because it's, you can treat an anxiety or panic attack, and if you have along with it a pathology, which is again not treatable by modern medicine, it gets little difficult for us as well, right? Now, before I start, this is one of the slide which I have deeply understood in these 3 years. When you cannot control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what's happening. That's where your power is. If every one of us understand this quotation, I think they will never get into the trap of mental illness. We get mental illness, we get psychiatric illnesses, we have depression, we have anxieties. The root causes, we try to change the environment, but we do not focus within. Let's start. Thank you, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, for such a wonderful science homeopathy to to choose us to practice homeopathy, as well as to give hope for a lot of hopeless cases in this world. Thank you so much. Thank you to my gurus, Dr. B.S. Bhosle sir, Dr. Mahesh Gandhi sir, Dr. Vitalka sir. They have refined me at each level of homeopathy. I'm very glad to say that I'm indirectly connected to Dr. Kent. I'll tell you how. My guru is student of Dr. S.K. Dubey sir. Dr. S.K. Dubey sir is student of Dr. B.K. Bose sir. And Dr. B.K. Bose is direct student of Dr. Kent. So somewhere, the classical homeopathy, the deep-rooted homeopathy, the passion of homeopathy has been transferred into me since my internship days. So I'm very thankful to my guru, Dr. B.S. Bhosle sir, to all my teachers. Great gratitude. Today is Guru Purnima, and thank you, everyone. So what is stress? I'll say in short, we'll not go deep into it. So, stress is a defense mechanism of a body. We are afraid of stress. We should not be scared of stress, because stress is the way how you can grow. We have evolved from apes. We were hunters. We were living in caves, right? Every day we used to face challenges, an animal attacking. We had to go out for hunting. So our body used to go into a state of stress. It used to produce cortisol, one of the hormones, which has a fight and flight reaction to a situation, right? And then when hunting is over or animal attack is over, we used to come back to a state of normalcy. But as we human beings, we are hunted by our own thoughts, and we are constantly in a state of stress. Stress is good to win a situation. But unfortunately, we as human beings have got tendency to stress over miniature things, and our body doesn't understand whether I'm stressing from an animal or it is my internal thought process which is stressful. Because of that, we can go into mental illnesses, or chronic stress can cause a pathology which we are not aware of, right? Anxiety is one of the output of chronic stress. Here, there's a feeling of fear and dread which doesn't go. I don't know how many of you must have encountered anxiety patients, or have you experienced anxiety? Anxiety and panic attack cripples a person. It makes him a handicap. A person can live better without a limb, but a person with anxiety and panic attack, he is worse than a handicap, because the willpower is affected, right? Okay. So we all know the symptoms of panic attack: pounding of racing heartbeat, feeling faint, dizzy, lightheadedness, etc. I'll not go deep into it. When you have a panic attack, anxiety, it piles up, and then when it's piled up, the thing has to come out of your unconscious mind. It comes out as a pressure cooker, which is a panic attack, where you're not into a control. I'll talk about it later. So let us talk about the case. So this is a case of a boy who is 30 years old. He came with anxiety and panic attacks since 3 years. His complaints started post-COVID. Ailments after father's death during COVID. So it was a very unfortunate situation, I'll tell you. So this poor boy, he and his father both got COVID. They both were admitted in the same hospital. Their beds were near. Here they were son's bed and here was his father's bed. They both were struggling for life and death. His father was gasping. His father was in a state of, in a state of respiratory failure, and his son himself was in a state of respiratory failure. But he could witness his father's, prognosis. He could witness how his father went from breathlessness to ventilator, and how his father gave away his life. And he was helpless. He couldn't do anything in that situation. So complaints started after death of father during COVID. So the whole thing happened for more than 10 to 15 days. Okay. Now his father died. Then 1 year after father's death, his sister, he had to attend, he had arranged his sister's wedding. In his sister's wedding, he suddenly got fever, pain in abdomen. He was rushed into the hospital in 2022. When he was rushed into the hospital, he was very critical and his USG showed acute pancreatitis. Okay, he was diagnosed with pancreatitis in 2022. Now, before going deeper, I just want to put a highlight about anxiety before we go deeper into this case. Now, whenever a person comes with anxiety to you, you have to have two aspects when you treat the person. You'll have to have a deeper aspect of modern medicine science. You have to understand the pathophysiology. You have to understand the process of anxiety. Along with that, you'll have to have a spiritual aspect. You have to have the understanding of evolution of human being, right? You have to understand the evolution of his will, intellect, understanding. The deeper you understand his evolution, the better you will understand a human being. And homeopathy is a combination of both modern medicine aspect and spiritual aspect. That is why homeopathy has the capacity to treat anxiety. I would say it has the capacity to reverse anxiety. How? Our medicines will not reverse the anxiety. It will stimulate your own body's healing process. Your body will have self-awareness. The body will understand who he is or who she is, and it will go into the path of recovery. And that only and only classical homeopathy can do. There are many medicines which work at the superficial aspect, like you have aconite, arsenic. But Dr. Hahnemann said in his Organon, till you do not go to the deepest constitutional remedy, you cannot reverse the process of anxiety or any psychiatric illnesses. So for that, we have to understand the deepest aspect of human being. You have to understand the journey of human being. You have to understand the deepest aspect of human pathology and materia medica. You have to have the combination of all three, and that can be magical to your patients. Now, let us understand the journey of this case. So, they both were admitted in hospital together. His father was very critical at the hospital, and he himself was near him. After his father's death, he was not informed about it. He was just said he was shifted into a tertiary care center. Then the boy got discharged. He went to his house. And when he went to the house, he was searching for his father. And then he came to know his father died 2 days back. And the moment he came to know his father died, this boy went into panic attacks. He just went into a room, he closed himself, and he did not come out of the room for next 2 to 3 days. And he was just telling, there are some ghosts and spectators who are coming to take me away. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. He had a son of 5 months, but he was not even looking towards him. He was in such a bad state. Now, after his father's death, The event happened, his father's death. Now, immediately after his father's death, his father was a businessman. He had taken a lot of loans from outside. So people started calling him for money. He is a working person. He is not associated with his father's business. But people started calling him. They said, like, give us our money. We need 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs. And they started blackmailing him. They were just coming into his house. They were threatening him. So along with that, the second event happened was people were threatening him. So he was not having any escape. Then eventually after 6 months, his nights became very terrible. He was scared. He always felt he will die. He always want everyone to sit around him, especially at night. At night, he want his wife or mother to sit around him because he used to feel, I will die, I will die, I will die. He had extreme anxiety. Suddenly, that poor fellow, just imagine, will get up at night. He will just open all his clothes. He'll rush out of the house. He will be very restless at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock at night. He will be walking all around in his colony. That I'm going to die. He was in an extreme state of anxiety. His health started deteriorating. He started getting 10 to 20 panic attacks in one day. Now, the progression of anxiety. Now, the patient started developing anxiety of health. He started developing anxiety and fear of death, especially at night. He had constant fear, anxiety, and anticipation. Anxiety mostly at night, which was most difficult. Nights are difficult for him. Night is terror. Like, he used to look at the watch. Oh God, it's now 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. How will I go through the night? It was so terrible, right? Could not concentrate in his job. He was working. He had to resign his job because whenever he used to go in his office, he suddenly used to get panic attack. He used to leave all the work and meeting in between and he used to rush back at home. In the whole consultation, the patient also kept on telling me one thing, that I think there's some evil eye behind me. There's some evil eye who is poisoning me, or he was being very superstitious about everything. He went to so many people to remove the evil eye. All these things happened in one day. So at home, let us see what was the environment at home. At home, there was constant fight between his mother and wife, which is very common in most of the families. So, he said, doctor, when I'm in office, I'm not able to work. I'm getting panic attack. When I come home, my wife and mother keeps on fighting. And that's again affecting my mental health. And it's triggering my anxiety. I can't go out in the office. I can't stay at home. I'm just into a constant panic attack. Please help me. He was in a state of helplessness. So gradually, he had broken confidence. He has left his job. He decided he will sell everything. He'll go and settle in his native place. He decided to change his SIM card. He was in such a fear. He just wanted to lie down in dark. He said, I felt calm in darkness. He gets violent, very angry whenever he used to get anticipated. Any phone call, even ringing of doorbell, it just triggered his panic attacks. They had to literally remove the doorbell, they just kept it off. So this was a state. So how was he? He was constantly living in a state of terror. So this is what I got from this case, right? Now, first episode of pancreatitis in 2022. Again, in 2023, he got second episode of pancreatitis. There was interstitial pancreatitis diagnosed. His amylase levels were 4,000. Lipase levels were 1,500 and above. Not getting controlled by any medicine. Why? Because the root cause was his mind. So now, when we have to treat him, we have to treat him as a whole, holistically. We have to understand him. We have to understand his journey so that not only his pancreatitis should reverse, his anxiety and panic attack should come down drastically. Now, what is his basic nature? Basically, this person is very lively. Before pancreatitis, before anxiety, panic attacks. He was a very lively person, happy-go-lucky, very cheerful. He liked to meet people. He liked to go around. He liked to travel around the world, you know. He used to take out his car on weekends. He used to drive 500, 600 kilometers. And, you know, he used to have a wonderful life with friends. Very active, very energetic, very good in sports. He's very quick in his actions. Again, see, whenever we are treating any case, we have to know from where he has come, what is his basic nature which God has given him, what happened in his life, what triggered his situation, and how he is now. And we have to match everything. He's a God-fearing person. I'll tell you, to such an extent, in India, people are a little superstitious about cat, you know. If a cat crosses, they never travel ahead. He's such a superstitious, even if rat crosses the way, rat, mouse, he will not cross the path. He's such a superstitious person, very God-fearing. Every day he goes to the temple. So this was his basic nature. Now I have to give remedy to him, right? Past history, he had history of jaundice 4 times. Family history, diabetes mellitus, father, hypertension, father, mother, osteoarthritis, diabetes mellitus. This is again one of the major part of your case taking. We get to know about his myism, his tendencies, his predispositions, etc. Right? Many times with past history, you can give a prescription. With past history, you know. It's again a way of prescribing. Personal history, vegetarian, diet is good, desire sweet. Rest generals are no specific. The reason is he was in a panic attack. He doesn't remember anything. He wasn't just in a state of terror when he came. He was just sitting, standing in whole consultation. Sleep, very anxious at night. He cannot sleep. He has not slept since 2 years. He has to take, sleeping pills. Thirst on the lower side, startles in sleep, no other physical journals I have got in this case. Now, CT scan shows he's diagnosed as acute interstitial pancreatitis. These are his reports. You can just look at the amylase level before he came to my consultation. His serum amylase is around 1,498. His lipase is 4,260 since 1.5 years. They are not coming down, right? Now, this is his hospital discharge report. Okay, I'll go ahead. So now here's the case we have. Now question arises, what do I have to treat? Should I treat pancreatitis or should I treat panic attack? If you have answers, I'll be very happy to know what is your answer about it. What you should be doing now. You have a case, very bad panic attack, very bad pancreatitis. His life is in your hands. Now, Dr. Vijayakar sir, my teachers, all my gurus, Dr. Kent always said, treat the man and not the disease. When you treat the man, you treat him as a whole. His vital force, his vital force is so intelligent, he knows very well how to take care of the whole being in order to save it. I'll just tell you one thing. I was in my 3rd year and, we were going to hospitals and people used to come with a lot of diagnoses like cancer, osteoarthritis, neurological disorders, and I used to get scared. Then one day I was reading a book by Dr. B.K. Sarkar. I am a voracious reader. I have read all the books by stalwarts. So certain things are embedded in me. In that book, B.K. Sarkar, I read a chapter. Don't get deceived by nosological classifications. You just have to treat the person. You have to take the totality. That statement gave me such a strength to treat all the pathologies, whatever case I get, be it a hospitalized case, be it any pathology, be it cancer, be it depression, schizophrenia. I don't get scared with these diagnoses, right? I know one thing. If the vital force is giving me symptoms, I have to take in the right way. I have to take a well case. I have to take case in depth. I have to deeply analyze the case. Once I analyze the case deeply, I have to understand the miasm. I have to understand the subconscious materia medica of the person. I have to give the totality. I have to stimulate the vital force. I don't have to treat the organs. Because, when you treat the vital force, it will take care of everything. Trust me, I can show you so many cases which were so frightening. But with just understanding, I had no fears. So again, I would say never get scared because of any nosological classification. You're just treating that energy into that human being. And we are actually healers. So these are his results. After 15 days of my constitutional remedy, you can see his lipase came to 251, amylase came down to 238. After 1 year, it's 75 and 77. Now, what about his panic attack? Now, in a case, always understand what's the miasm, what is the prognosis, and how is the quality of life. If you understand everything, you will understand the level of health of the person. Because sir always says, understand the level of health. You will understand to what extent you can help your patient, right? Now, he consulted me in 2023. Now, this is the basic nature. Now, I'm just going into analysis of the case. This is the basic nature of the person. He is lively. He is very energetic, very social, helpful, highly anticipated remedy. This is the causation. What happened with him? Death of father, financial burden, anticipation, fights in the house. Okay, so we have understood him now so far. He is like this. This event happened in his life. Now, what is the reaction? The remedy is never to the causation. Remedy is never to the basic nature. Remedy is always to the reaction. And reaction is something which is the individualizing factor of homeopathy. Homeopathy is nothing but individualizing every case. And how do we individualize? By understanding the reaction. I'll give you a simple example. There are 4 personalities. They come to know they have got cancer. If he's aconite, he comes to know that he has got cancer. What he will do? He'll just get scared. He'll call everyone. He will just look at the watch and he will tell everyone, I'm got cancer, I'm going to die, or you do whatever you want to do. And he will do with such a violence as if there's an earthquake in the room. This is what a aconite will give you a feeling. This is his reaction. What Natramure will do if she comes to know she's got cancer, she will take all his family members, love them more, try to spend time with those people with whom she is one-to-one connected, because Natramure needs one-to-one connection. She will not tell anyone she has cancer, right? How will high scammers do? He will call everyone around, I've got cancer, because he wants attention. He is a gossiper. The high scammers is one of the biggest gossiper in homeopathic materia medica. He will just keep on gossiping. I got cancer, I will die in 6 months. He has no seriousness about his disease. So we have in high scammers rubric, they are never serious about their disease. They are biggest gossiper. They are spying everything. They have no seriousness. How will sulfur react? If he comes to know he has cancer, I am sulfur. I have got cancer. You know, cancer? I have got cancer. See, I'm so strong. I'm not affected. It's okay. I've got cancer, because he's heedless. He is a rat philosopher. He is boaster. Again, he's so overconfident. I will not even take any medicine. It's okay. I've got cancer. He's showing himself to be too casual. This is sulfur. Okay, so I'm just giving you some example. This reaction has a medicine. Cancer doesn't have a medicine. So we have to learn reactions of every remedy. And how you can see the reaction? Through his body movements, through his face, through his gestures, through the way he talks. Silica, if he gets cancer, yes, I have got cancer. I'll take care of my health. He will speak so slowly, so softly. You have a rubric, speech slow for silica. Got it? So reaction mein remedy. Remedy is in reaction and not in action. Okay, let's go ahead. What was the reaction of this patient? Anxiety, anticipation, panic attack, fear of death, restless at night alone. His body used to get stiff with fear, terror, superstitious, lie down in dark desire for, complete loss of confidence, anger with complaint. Now, I need a remedy. Usually, how I approach such cases, I see for the reaction, I try to match with the basic nature, or at least I try to match with ailments from. But my remedy should cover his reaction. It should cover my observations because this is the present. In spirituality, what we say, be in your present. So when you prescribe, be in your present. Doesn't matter who he was. What is important is what he is today. Dr. Hahnemann says in mental diseases, pay attention to the disposition. If his basic nature, his disposition and causation matches, the disease will be cured. If only disposition you give remedy, it will come again. Why? Because his basic nature has not been treated. His constitution has not been treated. If you just give medicine for ailments from, it's just superficial remedy. Let's go ahead. So can anyone guess the remedy? I would love to know what remedy are you guessing? If anyone can guess a remedy, that will be great. It's a surprise for you all. Chalo. I'll go ahead. Genoveva, what do you think about any remedy? Okay. So the remedy I gave here is now let's go ahead. Okay, we'll not talk about this human mind model. This is when you treat, you know, our mind is made up of three parts: the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, unconscious mind. Whenever we work only at conscious level, when you prescribe only the symptoms which are coming from the conscious mind, you will not break the tendency, you will not stimulate the vital force. When you work at the subconscious and unconscious mind, this is where you can break the tendency. This is the root of the case, right? Again, I have a lot of things to talk about at spiritual level, but this is not the right time we can talk. Always follow Organon. Do not get deceived by surface symptoms. Go deeper. Study the process of disease. Modality in these cases are very important. For example, the patient has anxiety. Please don't stuck into anxiety, because modalities are the language of psychiatric cases. When is he having? It's midnight. When he goes to bed. This is individualizing him. You know, if you get it, don't leave it. Observe, observe, observe. Please understand unconscious and subconscious reactions, which are very important. Dr. Samuel Hahnemann speaks about in Aphorism 211, footnote 84 and 85, best and most wonderful footnote of homeopathic materia medica. Now, the remedy I gave was Rustock's 200 stat. And to my surprise, we think Rustock is a remedy for injury. Trust me, Rustock's is one of the most deep-rooted constitutional remedy which I'm seeing day-to-day life in my practice. I'm reversing a lot of psychological pathologies. I'm reversing a lot of physical pathology. I'm treating fever with Rustock's. It's a deep, deep constitutional remedy. Right? I'll tell you about Rustock's very soon. Now, these are his CT scans, his reports. Yeah. Now, this is the follow-up. I'll just give in short. This is the person after 8.
Everyone, my name is Punit Sharma and I'm from India. Today, I'll take you through my journey from being an anxiety person to a completely anxiety-free person. So it was a roller coaster ride for me, and I would like to take you through this journey of mine. So it all started in the year 2021 when the COVID second wave hit us hard. So it was my father who got infected first, and within 3 days, we came to know, like, my mother, my younger sister, and myself, all of us got infected with COVID-19. So that was the actual time when we all started panicking about what to do next, because we have been seeing news all over the world, like COVID is spreading, like coming in to its highest peak level. Even if the slightest doorbell ringing make me anxiety, full of make me feel, even if the slightest ring of the doorbell makes me feel anxious. I was scared of people meeting them around, and I used to hide myself inside the room, not meeting anyone, because I was worried about COVID coming in again. And then the news came about black fungus, red fungus. That was again terrifying. After some days, I realized there's a ringing sensation. After some time, it's Meniere's disease. I also developed one of the conditions, which is the pancreatitis. So this was because of the change in the lipid profiles. I decided to take homeopathic medicines. I consulted Dr. Shelly and narrated all my story to her, right from my journey into the COVID ward, coming out with a lot of anxiety, and then talking about my Meniere's disease. And she started treating me. Within months, like 2-3 months, I started feeling better. It's like it's like around almost 8 months now, and I've recovered almost about 95%. Right, so there's no sign of anxiety. It comes in between, it goes, but still there's a lot of I feel there's a lot of way ahead for me to get completely out of it. But I'm 95% improved. That is a bigger thing for me right now. I understand what exactly my tinnitus is, how was it triggered, what triggers it. So that's all there. So anyone, if you're really looking out for solution for your anxiety, or you would like to get yourself treated for any medical conditions, I think homeopathic, and she's available at any point of everyone. My name is Punit Sharma, IT, and get rid out of your.
So this is he after 8 months, much better. Here, see, if I would have worked only at his conscious level, suppressing his anxiety, I would have not broken the tendency. I couldn't see that confidence in his face. Only with proper, deep-rooted constitutional remedy can show such confidence. Right? He's much better now, much better. I cannot say his life is saved. So rust talks. Remember rust talks. We have just 5 minutes. I'll not go deep into rust talks, but it's a mind-blowing constitutional remedy. Remember, rust talks is equal to exertion. So in this whole case, what did you find? There was an exertion. Where? In the mind and in the body. His body was exerted because of the disease. His mind was exerted because he was suffering from COVID. He had anticipation. His father was dying. He had financial stress. People were ringing and calling him. He was in a state of exertion in 1 to 2 years. This was the core essence of the case, which I got, right? That is rust talks. When you see the rubrics for rust talks, mental or physical exertion, ailments from business failure, death of loved ones, fright, money loss, exertion. When all these situations causes exertion, think of rust talks. You have remedies like Nux vomica. You have remedies like Kali Ayod in mental exertion. The difference here is Nux vomica, when he goes into exertion, he'll be very irritable, he'll be very violent, but he will never go into anxiety and anticipation because it's a strong remedy. Right? He will go into hypochondriasis, he will be very dominating, he will not get scared of anything. Kali Ayod, when he is into a mental exertion, he will go and consult hundreds of doctors because he's Kali. Ayod, lot of energy. He will be quarreling, he will be dominating, he will be quite very fastidious in his house. This is Kali Ayod. But rust talks, he'll go into anxiety and anticipation because that's the inner layer of rust talks. Rust talks is one of the most anxious remedy like arsenic. I want you all to go and study rust talks once again from the deeper aspect. Basically, when you see rust talks, they are very mild. Mild mein rust talks is 4 marks. Mild, nervous, timid, energetic, lively, superstitious people. You will always see a rust talks child participating in sports, highly active in sports because they have a lot of energy. You look at the rubrics, anxiety, rust talks, midnight after, rust talks, bed in, rust talks, in-house, rust talks, anguish, rust talks. This is rust talks. He is like arsenic, argentum nitricum. Combination of arsenic, argentum nitricum, spongia tosta is rust talks, right? Now, there's a difference between anxiety, anticipation, anguish, and panic. I'll not go deep into it, but there's a fine differentiation. How you know what is anticipation, anxiety, because still you don't know what is anticipation, how would you take the rubric anticipation? We again have to differentiate whether the patient is in anguish, he is anticipated, or is anxious or panic. These are again the rubrics. Rust talks is one of the most restless remedy. More restlessness than arsenic you find in rust talks. Why? He is anxious plus very energetic. That leads him into restlessness. Constantly he needs to move. Constantly he keeps on changing his position. He is very restless at night. Okay, fine. In acute, you have, a rubric, lachesis. How is lachesis in acute? He will talk too much. His loquacity increases in acutes. Rust talks is 2 marks. Lachesis is 1 marks. So if you find a remedy who's loquacious during fever, very restless physically and mentally, please think about rust talks. It's not just lachesis, belladonna, stramonium, cuprometallic. For my patients who come with acute, when I see they have a history of exertion, physical exertion, or they've got wet in rain, when they have acute, they're talking too much, and they're very physically active. They say, doctor, I know I have fever, but I cannot sit at home. I must go home, go out to work. If I don't go out to work, I don't feel better. I need to go out to work. This is rust talk. They will not rest during acutes. Night is their enemy. Rust talks, the biggest enemy of rust talks is night. They cannot stay alone at all at night once they have a pathology. They keep on thinking about disagreeable occurrence, driving place to place. They have a lot of fear of evil, superstition. It's one of the most fearful remedy for materia medica. Fear of being poisoned, fear of disease impending, etc. Speed, they are very fast remedy. Hurry, impatient, irritability, restless remedy is rust talks. So this was his chart. But see, before I went to the chart, trust me, I try to understand the essence of every case. I try to understand the deepest core, who that person is and what has happened. And then you match with materia medica. Okay, not go into this, not this. So with this, I think we are time up. Genoveva. The depth of your prescription is directly proportional to the depth of pathology you can manage. Go deeper, go deeper. Understand. That is why different homeopaths have different results. Go deeper. Now, the question arises, is homeopathy just a placebo? Many people say, homeopathy is just placebo. We do counseling, they feel better. But let us see what fundamental research speaks about. In 2012, there was a research which says homeopathy is a nanotechnology. The homeopathic dilution have nanotechnology particles. Sure. Sorry. Yeah. So people think homeopathy is just a placebo, right? What people say, we just talk, we advise people, patient gets better. Question arises, can just talking reverse the pathology of a person? No. Now let us see what fundamental research has to say about homeopathy. So there was a research done in 2012-13 by IITN in Mumbai that homeopathy dilution contains nanoparticles. Nanoparticles are those particles, they are very minute and they have the capacity to get into the cell. Now, going ahead with the research. Now, this is the latest research which is conducted by Professor Vitilka sir and his team, which says about going deeper on quantum science. That when they explored homeopathic dilution to electron microscopy, Raman spectroscopy, they understood that at the quantum level, the particles, nanoparticles were oscillating, which again shows that higher dilutions contains nanoparticles of the mother dilution. So this is one of the most important research which has come out in this last 6 months, which proves the depth and efficacy of homeopathy at fundamental research level. So we cannot say homeopathy is just placebo, it is something beyond placebo. I'm very sure about it. So this research was carried out in 30, 260 potency of aurum metallica. Okay, so I just want to tell you that with this study which I have showed, we can always talk on the aspects of homeopathy that it is not just placebo, it is beyond placebo. We are the holistic science. We understand the mind, body, emotions, and we have the capacity not to suppress the mind, but to awaken the awareness within. You know, we fall sick. The reason is why? Because we lose awareness at spiritual level. It's again a very deep topic. Homeopathy gives you a self-awareness. And when you develop self-awareness, you come into a state of balance. You get aligned to the higher consciousness and you stimulate self-healing into you. So this is the magic of homeopathy. And in long run, I am very sure if we keep on taking classical homeopathy, it gives you the best quality of life. It can prevent a lot of pathologies in you. It can give you the best out of you because it is holistic, natural science, the only science after meditation. It synchronizes with the higher consciousness. With this, I would like to end my today's talk. Sorry for taking extra time, Genoveva. And I'm very glad to be here talking to you all. And thank you, Genoveva, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much. Thank you. If anyone has any question, I'm okay to answer. Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. So I have a question. Out of your experience, could there be sweating during night as well? Went away. There was a question, but someone deleted it. No problem. In the chats. Shalom. Hmm? Yeah.
Да, чува се и се вижда.
Ние също благодарим. Някой трябва да разчупи това мълчание. Зловещо. Така че благодаря. Ще се радваме, ако получим по мейла записите. Просто аз бих искал да погледна и предишния ден какво се е говорил. Да, разбира се, когато. Ами добре, благодаря и може би трябва да се разотиваме вече. Всичко добро.